and I am a GUPS board member, and we have organized for our members two webinars with the help of the global licensing audit team from Waldorf in order to talk about the licensing topic. The first webinar will be related to digital access and digital access adoption program, and it will be held by Falco Grunte, that is a global head of license audit and compliance team. We decided to organize this meeting with the help of SAP because these topics are really relevant for all the SAP customer, and we want to listen their voice about these important topics, and also to have their help to better understand problem related to these topics. So this webinar will be recorded. The recorded is just started, and I will give the talk to Falco. The session will be divided in two parts. The first part is just an explanation of what is digital access, and the second part is an explanation about the digital access adoption program. In the middle and at the end will be a little space for question and answer. I hope that everybody of you enjoy this session. I leave the talk to Falco.
Mille grazie, Mauro. And thank you very much for the opportunity to present today. And as promised, next time, definitely also, I'm happy to join then physically in Italy. So for today's topic, before we are going into the details, I will use a quickly the opportunity introducing myself. So my name is Falco Grünke. I'm based out of Waldorf, and I'm heading the license utilization services as part of global license audit and compliance. So my team is responsible for deep dive measurements or analysis or support during engagements, and as part of this also responsible for the digital access evaluation service, which I will shortly introduce today at the end of our presentation. I'm very happy that I have today also two members of our Italian team in, so whenever there is a challenge with communication, I don't see any challenges to move into Italian. Mine is personally limited to the tourist version of it. All right. I think for the course of the meeting, it would be great if everyone could move on mute as long as we are presenting. Nevertheless, in all the sections, we will have the opportunity to ask questions, especially at the end of every section. I will check with you whether there are any open questions or concerns. So first, we are moving into the general pricing model of digital access and the history of it. Moving forward, then also into the technical concept of the measurement. I think by that, with the measurement itself, it will be very easy to understand how the concept itself works. And then we will move into the digital access adoption program, which has been released in 2019 as a commercial opportunity to move into the new license model. And as part of that, we have the digital access evaluation service, which allows you to evaluate together with SAP the requirements of a potential move. So when we are talking about digital access, we always have to go a little bit back into the history of of SAP's license model, and the word called indirect use or use. So if you're going back into license contracts over the last couple of years, in all the contract clauses, we do have the understanding of use and the definition of use in our contracts. And this definition is independent of the access point. But nevertheless, we are differentiating between three different kind of access points. So first of all, we have the direct human access, which everyone might know. That's the typical when a person logs on into the system. Direct human access. We do have the SAP application access, which means if other applications of SAP are logging on into the digital core or are connecting and speaking to each other, that's application access, and it is already covered by the license of the application. And then we do have the section which is all about today, the access of third-party applications into the digital core. And with this access here, that's the one which is license relevant from a perspective of indirect access, digital access. So the license model and also our landscapes, I think, have changed over the last couple of years. So while when I was starting back beginning of the 2000s in SAP, an SAP environment was pretty still very isolated from the rest of the world. There were not too many other applications connected, and the main access point was the direct human access. While in today's modern world, the portion of connected other applications has significantly increased, and with that, of course, also the amount of potential risks we are driving into when we're talking about indirect or digital access. So from a historical point of view, SAP's preferred license model for all kind of use was the user license model. Whether it is direct or indirect, both requires a user license. There are a few exceptions, like, for example, the sales orders or the purchase order processing, which has been limited, which was a kind of pre-version of the digital access at the end of the day. And those licenses have covered then named users for specific scenarios. In today's world, it's getting more and more challenging to identify and to count and consider all those users and all those access points, because we are connected not only inside of our own organization, we are also connected outside of the organization to other companies, government, etc. So our new license model is focusing actually on the outcome-based model of the documents. So by licensing the documents, the whole bunch of scenarios which are could create indirect use are covered by those documents. And we are talking here about the creation. So while in the existing or legacy, however you want to call it, the license model, all kind of usage scenarios, whether it was creation of data, it was reading data, it was updating or deleting data, all of those scenarios required a license and a named user license. In the digital access license model, we are talking only about documents which are created from outside into the SAP digital core, and those are the documents which are actually then licensed accordingly. And any named user or any IoT device or any bot who is accessing and is not creating one of those documents is covered by this license of the documents as well. So on one hand, we have the documents which are the relevant one to count, and all the other scenarios are covered, which means that the amount of scenarios which are affecting your license level are reduced significantly. So instead of having hundreds of connections and interfaces, we are now talking only about the amount of scenarios which are creating those documents. And this is reducing the risk significantly towards digital or indirect access. When we're talking about digital access, we're always talking about the 9 documents. And those 9 documents are listed here on a high level. You can see that partially those are also measured on a line item level. And we are only focusing on the sales document, invoice, purchase, service maintenance, manufacturing, quality, and the time management. And then we have 2 which need to be highlighted a little bit different, the financial document and the material document, because those documents having a multiplier included, which means that every document of those is considered as 0.2, so in the license metric. And in the license metric, you're not licensing individual license items. It is a document count overall, which is combining all those 9 documents in your license count. Putting it in a bit more concrete example. So here you can see an example I've just created for an IoT scenario, for example. So this is like a pipe where, for example, oil, gas, whatever is running through. And this IoT device is on a regular basis every 15 minutes putting in data about how many liters can run through per second through those pipes. This data is created in SAP, but this is an update or it is a non-relevant document. So this is perfectly fine. It's not considered. It's covered by the digital access license model. When you're looking into the legacy license model, those kind of updates would already require a license. When we are now talking about the scenario here, you can see by 9 a.m. the amount is running so low that we require someone from the maintenance to go in. So the IoT device is getting the answer back that this is now a critical value and is creating a maintenance order. And this maintenance order, if it comes from outside into the digital core by a non-SAP application, this order is the one we would count as relevant for the digital access license metric. And then all the steps which are happening inside of the digital core, like, for example, availability check, potential purchase orders which are created internally in this document, as well as the update, the scheduling, and the confirmation. All these processes are not considered. So from a license perspective, in this particular scenario, only the maintenance order is the one which is relevant because this document is created from outside from a non-SAP application. So before we are going more into the technical details of this measurement behind this license principle, do we already have any questions we should answer before going more into how SAP differentiates between external and internal documents?
Maybe just Mauro. In my understanding, master data is not counted as a digital document.
That's correct.
I mean, creation of customer vendors material is not on charge.
Correct. So in the old license model, in the where the users are required, SAP considers all use as relevant, but we have an audit practice there which says, okay, a master data is anyway something SAP does not consider during an audit as relevant. But for the digital access license model, it's going even further. So master data is not relevant, but also transactional data, which goes beyond those 9 documents. Yeah, so if you have additional documents which are created here, whether it is master data or transactional data, doesn't make any difference. It is covered by those 9 documents. Yeah, or for example, if you're creating documents inside of SAP and you're extracting them, this is also covered by the creation of the documents. Or if you're updating, so there's no additional count for updates. So only if one of those 9 documents is created from outside, then this is the metric we are counting, and by that all other scenarios are covered as well.
Okay, thank you.
And sorry, I'm Marconi Giuseppe. Documents created subsequently with SAP. It means that it's only counted the first document, not the following ones.
Yeah, so here in the example, you can see that the purchase order would be a subsequent document.
Okay.
Yep, so those are not counted. Yeah, so only, so at the end of the day, you have 3 criteria which are important to understand whether document is counted. First of all, is it coming from outside, yes or no? If it is created within the SAP itself, it is not relevant. The second is it coming from a third-party application or from an SAP application? And last but not least, is it one of the 9 documents? Yeah, so only if it is one of the 9 documents, it's coming from outside and it's a non-SAP application. If all those 3 criteria is met, then this is what we are counting.
Yes, but for example, if you consider a sales order and invoice, we can say that an invoice it's subsequent to the order, so we should not count it.
It would be only subsequent if it is created in the same flow inside of SAP. So if you're receiving from external a sales order and many stages later from external an invoice, both are counted. So subsequent in this case means only if it is created within your SAP system.
Ah, yes.
So
okay.
So if you're receiving a sales order from external, and then this will cause, for example, within your SAP, after the creation of the sales order, usually you are creating internally also financial documents to have it in your books. You're creating probably material movements, and you're creating an invoice. And all this is happening hopefully inside of SAP, and this is then the subsequent document. Yeah, but everything which comes from outside is considered as digital access relevant documents.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, Mauro Longhi speaking. We have installed vendor invoice management, and so we receive invoices from our government agency, ISD in Italy. This means that this document is created outside of SAP or inside of SAP?
It's a good question. So if it is an SAP application, which is then creating the data inside of SAP, then it would be covered. But we need to look into probably a little bit more in detail in an individual discussion afterwards. Yeah, because of course there are a few areas where it is getting more complicated, like add-ons, for example, etc. So add-ons are considered, for example, as part of the core. So as this, if an add-on is creating data, it would be considered as SAP application access. Yeah, if you have, yeah, but there are also scenarios where something like this could generate external documents.
Thanks.
This is
Excuse me, Francesco Lograsso from Trilogo. What do you consider time management documents? Is, for example, timesheet created for external service provider, for example, or not?
Yeah, those would be considered. Yeah, so the pure clock in, clock out, so the time clocks. This is something which is generating a timesheet which is not relevant for digital access, but those where you can afterwards reach cross-charge, etc. Those are the relevant ones which are considered as digital access relevant. Yeah, I will, after this presentation, of course, I will send the slides tomorrow to distribute to the group, and I will also add the link to the SAP Digital Access Help Portal. So we have generated last year a huge summary of for digital access in the help portal, which is giving specific scenarios like setups you have just described, and saying, okay, how is SAP considering those from a measurement and from a license perspective? Yeah, because there are a lot of things like cloud platform, like other SAP applications, how does it work with Fiori apps, and all these kind of scenarios are covered in there. And later, when I'm going into the digital access evaluation service description, this is exactly what we are doing when we are analyzing together with you the documents to really understand what kind of scenarios you have, what kind of technical setups you have, and how that would be considered, and whether we need to include them or exclude them.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, with that, I will move on into a little bit more of the technical measurability to give you an understanding of the principle. I think that will help a lot to clarify also some of the understanding. So when we are looking at in the picture on the left side, you can see that we have three colors: the direct human access, application access, and the digital access. So the direct human access, as it is happening anyway within the SAP system, there's no challenge at all. When we are looking into the application access versus the digital access, SAP required an identifier to really see what is now third-party access and what is SAP access. And for that, we have used as a technical identifier the functionality called SAP Passport. So SAP Passport has been historically used within our service and support to trace documents. And we have adjusted this a little bit, and we're using now the same functionality to say, if an SAP application is sending a document, in the header of the document, you will always find the digital access passport, which allows you then to identify this as a SAP application access. So if a document from an SAP application arrives into the digital core will recognize it, and then afterwards will not count this document it's moving through. If a document is coming from a third-party application without this identifier, automatically the digital core will recognize that this is without passport, and therefore it is considered then as a relevant document. So this functionality is out already, but of course the measurement functionality starts only counting as of the day where it is installed in your digital core system. When we want to look backwards and understand based on an estimation how many documents have been generated externally in your environment, we are using the estimation node. And I will describe both in a second as well a bit more. The estimation node is actually a simple report which is counting the documents depending on the users you are putting in. So if you're saying you have identified an external interface, you can put in the user, and the document is showing up the documents which have been created by this user. The challenge here is that the estimation node is not automatically excluding all the documents this technical user has created internally. So that's something we have to validate in the process of the service. So first, looking into the estimation node, you can see here with the nodes which are listed on the bottom. It can be installed either in your ECC system as well as in your S4 system, and then by choosing here the right users and the time frame, we get the list which is resulting on the right side with every user and the documents created by this user. Now, so when you're looking into your environment, I'm pretty sure that you have a lot of technical interfaces and a lot of technical users. Based on experience, I would say that out of hundreds of users, normally only a very small amount of users is creating those documents in the system. So I think that is step one, then really understanding which ones are creating documents, and from there on you can move forward. And as said, my team is happy to assist and guide you through here and help a little bit more with the technical analysis of those documents. If you're using it the first time, don't be shocked. Usually the numbers you can see on the first time running the reports are much higher than the actual license requirement, because this node cannot differentiate between relevant documents and the subsequent documents. And pretty often those are both created by the same user, so you would find them in here. And this will be a little bit different with the measurement functionality. So as I said, the passport is the protocol extension for tracing, and this the beauty of this functionality is that it is already for many years in the systems. So because for the measurement functionality to have it fully in place, you need, of course, on one hand in your core system the counting mechanism, but of course also all your satellite systems need to be on the right support package to make sure that they are sending the passport along. And SAP has worked, so all cloud solutions, for example, have the passport functionality already in place. And I said for NetWeaver and Java-based, it is all out as well to be active. The passport itself will be in the header field, and with that, it will not be written into your business tables. So there is no effect to the business tables at all. It is just counted in a separate field if there is no passport available. We also have created a technical guide node. So here you can see the levels where the measurement functionality is in place for the digital core. And on the right-hand side, you see the technical guide node, which is giving you an overview of all SAP applications and as of which time they have implemented the passport functionality. So that includes then Concur, success factors, but also third-party applications which can be licensed via SAP, as for example OpenText. So here you will find an overview, and whenever something new is coming out or a new vendor is coming on the list, it will be updated. So it's a living document, which gives you a good overview whether you're ready already for the full-blown measurement. For your own overview, there is a dashboard available already. And with that dashboard, you can see, in case you have already the measurement functionality active, you can see here the overview of documents which are relevant. And SAP is also providing an overview of the details, so you can check the tables if required, if numbers are coming not in the right volumes according to your own understanding. The dashboard is also available for cloud products. I think last but not least, I want to highlight before we are moving into the adoption program that the functionality of digital access measurement is, so it is visible for yourself. SAP is currently not executing audits on this topic so far. We are in a kind of hypercare phase to really then more analyzing in case you are ready to go for. If you are not yet on the license model of digital access, but your system is already creating documents and they are on the measurement result, if you want, you can exclude those for the moment before transferring the results to SAP. So this has been worked out with the user groups to be fully transparent and opening all options for customers as required. Okay, so I think with that we would have already the first half of our presentation. Are there any questions on the technical measurability or the technical concepts behind the digital access license model?
Yes, good afternoon. Riccardo Cecapoli speaking from Ariston Thermo. I have a question about the type of applications. You said that there are no problems, no, if the application that is creating the document, it is an SAP application, no? And you have mentioned also NetWeaver. So does it mean that if I have created custom applications with NetWeaver, it is fine?
So I mean, if you have done own developments within your ECC, yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
And this is also true for SAP Cloud Platform.
Yeah. So SAP Cloud Platform, it depends. It depends whether your user authentication is still in the backend, or you have a totally independent application on your SAP Cloud Platform. So if your user authentication is still in the ERP and you're using a functionality on top, that is this is no digital access. If it is a totally independent application and your user management is within this application, then it would be a digital access relevant.
Okay, thank you.
Mauro speaking, but I think it is the same also for SAP NetWeaver application, what you said before. I mean, if I have a custom application built on a SAP NetWeaver, the difference is between if the user access is managed in SAP or not.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, somehow, yeah, correct. Yep.
Sorry, Mario Moroni speaking. What we are saying does apply also to SAP Business One or not?
So SAP Business One is sending the passport to the digital core, or do you mean indirect access?
Indirect access on SAP Business One.
No, that would not be covered by digital access. So it is only for the ECC core and the S4.
Okay.
Yeah, but if your Business One, for example, is sending data into your S4 system, then the Business One system will automatically send the passport as well. So this is not considered as digital access. The other way around, it doesn't work because the B1 has a different license model there.
Okay, thanks.
I have a question, Loris Aloisi speaking. Let's say we had on our system a framework running that let us to build quick applications. How is counted the document generated by this kind of applications? Let me say every user is a known user to the ECC system, so is an individual user.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, in specific, I'm speaking about Neptune framework.
I have to admit, I'm not familiar with the Neptune framework, but if you have the user authentication, then it is fine. If there's no user authentication, then it is digital access. Yeah. So the whole license model is not anymore based on the users itself. Yeah, that's very important to understand. It's like, while in the old world, in the digital access, the metric is this person who is accessing via indirect access the system, does he has a named user or not? In the digital access license model, it is all going on the application. So it means, is there an applicational access? Then it is counted. If there is no applicational access, then it's not counted. Whether this person already has, in a different scenario, a named user is not relevant for the license model. There, it's like any other engine on your contract. The engine is just counting the documents, but it's based on the technical, independent from the named users you're anyway having.
Sorry, can you repeat, please, the three criteria about the checking for the digital access?
Yeah. So first is it coming from outside? Second is it a third-party application? And third is it one of the 9 documents? That's pretty simplified, the criteria. Of course, there's a lot of technical details around, like this UI access, but in a very simplified way, these are the 3 criteria which are good to consider to understand which documents are relevant and which are not.
Falco, is it Mauro speaking? Is it correct to say that if the third-party application has been purchased through SAP, also if it is not SAP product, it is considered a SAP application?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we're moving on with the Digital Access Adoption Program. So the license model of digital access has been introduced in 2018. And over the first 10 months, I think roughly 1,000 customers has already adopted to the license model. But we work together with our user groups, and specifically here, the ASAC and DSAC group. Sujin was also part of the discussions, and with those together, we said, okay, we want to make the move into this new license model more attractive for our customers. And we have worked out together an SAP Digital Access Adoption Program. And the Digital Access Adoption Program is at the end a commercial offer to our customers to make the move from the old licenses into the new licenses more attractive. And it has a 2-step approach. And the first step is actually understanding how many documents would be required. Well, because we wanted to make sure that if a customer is moving into the new license model, that obviously he is, at the moment where he's signing a contract, he is compliant. So first is really to understand how many documents do you have. And we are offering here 2 opportunities. Of course, you can do it also totally independent if you're feeling comfortable with, but SAP said, okay, on one hand, of course, if you already have the measurement functionality in your system, that would be, of course, the perfect basis for a decision-making process. If you don't have this implemented yet and the passport tool requires still more time, we have offered the Digital Access Evaluation Service as a basis where SAP is offering jointly with you, guiding you through the steps to really identify the required documents, and supporting also with technical backgrounds, answering to specific scenarios, but also supporting with analysis. So it's a totally how to say, an individualized service. Depending on your requirements, it can be adjusted. We can start from the beginning to explain the process and the model, and we can also just clarify a few questions. And but this is what I will explain in a little bit more time. Focus first now on the commercial portion of it. So there are 2 offerings which are possible, and option B, I'm starting with option B because it's the more simple one, is that we are offering as SAP a guaranteed discount of 90% if you're moving into digital access. So every customer has the opportunity to move in on buying the digital access licenses with a guaranteed discount of 90% for the time. Of course, the minimum requirement SAP is putting in here is that based on the estimation or the measurement upfront, that you're at least licensing what is required to keep you compliant. And the opportunity 2 is if you see a future growth in your organization, that you can license 115% of the requirement identified in step 1, and that means you would only buy the 15%. That's what is required as a license fee, but with that you're getting the rest, the 100% on top, so you get in total 115%. This is including then the future growth. It depends pretty much on the amount of documents you're licensing, which of those both options is the more beneficial for you, because we are considering, of course, in there the volume discounts. So it might be
le FFP2 che sono quelle più, ancora più, diciamo, molti hanno quelli di seta.
So yeah, so both is an opportunity. The exact what is the more beneficial for you depends on your numbers, and your account executive has a calculator at hand, which helps if you're including the exact amount of documents required to understand which is the better option for you. Of course, we are offering on top here the conversion programs. So all the conversions or policies of SAP which are available can be combined with the digital access adoption program. Looking a bit more into the details. So for the measurement, as I said, you can choose the option. Of course, third option would be doing it on your own, but the two options which are preferred by SAP are either going with the passport tool and really finding the measurement, let's run it for a while and then see what is coming out, or the second option, which is the one which most of our customers are taking, is raising an evaluation, a request for an evaluation service, and I will provide you also with a form where you can raise this independently. And with that, we are starting then a process to estimate together with you the amount of documents based on the estimation amount and some additional activities. Yeah, and with Maria, who's today in our call, we have also a service lead then in Italy who will drive these engagements together with you and some experts from the rest of the team to make sure that we have an exact amount of documents which are required. Yeah, from a commercial perspective, as said, so you have two opportunities, the 15% growth and the 19% discount. It would be something together with your account executive to really figure out which ones are the ones, which is the option which is the most beneficial for you. So the cheapest one to really move into the digital access. When we're looking into the scenarios, of course, digital access is an optional offering for yourself, so you can remain in the existing world as is and covering indirect use via named users and the engines which are already in place. And but on the other hand, of course, if you think that after the estimation and the understanding of what it would mean for yourself, there are still options then to move on. So SAP is also offering 100% credit for licenses which can be exchanged towards digital access license requirements. So on top of the 90% discount, if you have any licenses which are not relevant afterward due to the digital access conversion, there is an opportunity to exchange them with 100% credit. So it might be, if it works well, that there is a zero net cost change in moving into the digital access model, or there could be also a potential, of course, of adopting it by buying additional licenses. Right. Are there any questions on the digital access adoption program and the commercial portion of it?
Yes, Riccardo Cecapoli again speaking. Could you please go back to the previous slide? Okay, so in the option B, no, you say that we can license 100% of estimated document to receive 90% discount on digital access, no?
Correct.
Then what happens year by year? I mean, no, I suppose that if the company grows, no, also the number of documents will grow, hopefully, no. And so, what's happening every licensing audit? No, because the license audit is done yearly.
Right. So you have the opportunity to buy, of course, as many documents as you want. So if you see already a future growth of course, you could go beyond the 100%. But it is, at the end of the day, it is like similar principle to all the other engines and products of SAP. If the usage is growing, then of course additional licenses might be required. Yeah, and the digital access adoption program is currently has been just extended until end of 2021.
And sorry, the difference with the option A is that in that case the 15% growth, it is year by year.
No, it's a one-time exercise. So in this case, you're getting actually 115% by licensing 15%. Yeah, and it depends on your specific amount of documents. I mean, if you see the numbers, sometimes it fits. Sometimes option B is the cheaper one. Sometimes it's option A, which is cheaper one, depending on the amount of documents required, and you want to buy. Yeah, it's like, because considering all this discounts, additional discounts like the list price, standard volume discounts, it might be that by licensing a few documents more, the overall price is less for your organization. But that's something, so every account executive has access to the calculator, and if he's entering the amount of documents you are requiring, he can easily tell you which option is the preferred one for yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Mauro Longhi speaking. In the previous section, I have showed that the number of documents depends on the type of documents. For instance, material documents, there is a coefficient. That means for each movement that I create by the interface is counted 0.2 point. And so after 5 documents, I count as a full document. That's
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're counting 5 material documents, which are resulting in 1 document to be licensed.
Okay. Thanks.
Well, it's the same for financial.
I have so yeah. Thanks.
I know that is more a local topic than your topic, but here we saw that we are talking about list discount, list price, and so on. But nobody in Italy knows what is the list price. Do you think that is possible to see this number without starting any negotiation with SAP in order to have a budget idea about the values?
So you mean the list of the documents? Or? Okay.
Yes, list price, yes.
Good question. Let me come back to you. I need to check it. I think it has been communicated externally even. I just need to check it and see it. Yeah, but for the digital access evaluation service, we are coming on later. So if SAP has implemented this, has been approved by all board members. If you have the opportunity, if you're raising support for the digital access evaluation service, that this should not be shared with your account executive. So if you have the feeling that there is no trustful relationship, or you want to keep it for yourself at the moment, you can just flag that you don't want to have anyone involved outside of the one who is delivering the service. And in this case, your account executive will be informed that there is an activity ongoing. Yeah, so to be transparent within SAP, but he won't receive the results. So the results will be only for yourself. And in regards to the list price, I will come back to you in the next days.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Paco. We have already bought the new licenses for digital assets, but I think that the most important thing is that the 19% of discount is linked to if you combine this order with another order in other forms. I have understood that as a brought in this, customer can combine purchase order in the solution with digital asset under the same order forms, but if you buy something else, you can combine also this discount. I have understood this.
Yeah, so I think that's more a technical difference. So if you're going for option A, that means that this has to be created as a standalone order form. I think that has more the background of this additional licenses you get on the top. For option B, if you're anyway into a deal closure, digital access can be added. But then only digital access would receive the 90% discount. All the others would be based on your regular agreements. But it can be also independently. So you can also go for the 90% discount without adding any additional licenses.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, Marconi speaking. Do you have any idea or information about the general adoption in Italy of digital asset adoption program?
No, to be frank with you, no, I don't have the adoption of Italy. So we have a pretty high adoption globally, and with the adoption program, it has significantly increased. So since the adoption program gone live, the amount of customers going on the digital access license model has increased more than 1.5 times. So it is a good portion of our customers. I think in the first 10 months, it was roughly 1,000 customers. Towards SAP has not really counted anymore on the details of this, as far as I am aware. So I'm not sure how the adoption in Italy is.
Thanks.
And if a customer choose, option B, do you think it's possible to keep the same license discount also for further purchase of digital assets?
Yeah, I mean, guaranteed is it only for the period of the adoption program. Everything else is between yourself and the account executive.
Okay.
No. So just to highlight, I mean, as said before, looking on my last slide here, it is always a question of your individual situation and your licenses you have already, and of course also the effect the digital access license model has. Myself, I have been part of developing this license model and working already beyond launch with it. So I'm a big fan of the digital access license model because I think it makes the life much easier. Yeah, it is minimizing the scenarios we have to review. Because it's only those which are creating 9 document types, and all the other scenarios you're safe today. While in the old license model, whenever system is getting connected, there might be a risk of having additional indirect use. So I think that makes the beauty of this system. It's measurable, it's smart, but as said, it doesn't fit to every customer. Yeah. But SAP is doing its best to make it suitable for everyone. Yeah, because I think future-wise, it is the way forward, which makes the licensing of digital/indirect access much easier. And yeah, from that perspective, I definitely recommend to everyone to have at least a consideration and looking inside, getting an understanding what it means. Yeah, and we are definitely assisting to say, okay, on one hand, we do have the digital access, and this is the amount of documents which would be required, versus what is required in the old world, or what kinds of licenses are there, to really see what is the more beneficial license model. Yeah, because otherwise it is always, without knowing those numbers, it's pretty challenging to make a decision. Yeah, with this baseline of knowing the numbers and knowing the risk in both license model, it is easier to really make the decision whether the license model is the right way forward, or it is better for yourself at the moment to remain in the old world. Okay, and let's kick off the last section, the Digital Access Evaluation Service. So this is the service which is delivered by my team as part of the adoption program. So first of all, this the evaluation service is free of charge. So it can be, depending on your requirements, it can happen on site. Sometimes it's remote. I think it all starts with the kickoff call. Yeah. So when you are requesting it, I will send the form later on. So I can see here's the link already to the support portal page, where you can request it. You can say what is your expectation, and then someone out of my team will contact you to understand your requirements and your knowledge level. Then we are going through to prepare yourself to going through the service. Yeah, so we have a phase approach, and it is a joint result evaluation. That's very important. So there's nothing SAP alone can do. It really requires a teamwork of both parties, having an expert on the license model combined with an expert of your landscape. Combining the knowledge of both will help you to go through the review and really understand which documents are relevant, which are not. And maybe sometimes there will be also a few documents where we are not 100% sure, but at least then we know the risk of number of documents. The whole process, and of course, whenever you're feeling comfortable, we can stop the service to see whether when you have a good understanding. What I would recommend you running it to the end, because what SAP is doing is documenting the process. What has been done together, what kind of numbers have been reviewed, and what conclusions have we taken together. So you will receive at the end of the service a report, which is documenting for yourself the whole exercise, and is documenting the amount of documents based on our joint analysis, which we would consider as relevant for the license model. And with this document, you can then put your decision on whether digital access is the right license model or not for your own contract and entitlement. Yeah, so any specific requirements from your side, or any additional circumstances, pre-knowledge, etc., all can be included. Yeah, so when you raise it in the kickoff call, just raise your expectation. The service lead will also explain you what to do and what is required, and then we are moving into the next steps. Having a very high level overview of the steps. The very first one, of course, is identifying all the ECC systems and the S4 systems to understand what is the landscape we're really looking at. And for those, we need to implement then the estimation node to really execute afterwards those. In the next step, we're identifying the interfaces and the systems and the integration method, which means, as said, I think in the very early stages, most of your interfaces might not create documents. Yeah, so it is really then just focusing on those who are creating documents, and by those then on those which are really potentially having external interfaces included, and then really analyzing the document patterns to understand whether those are created by the interface or created SAP internally. And so this process we are going through, we are analyzing together with you. There are a couple of opportunities. So you can come from the business process and really analyzing those with the business process view. You can support it by a technical verification to understand the exact table entries and interfaces, etc. Our team is supporting you in both. And depending on your requirements, we can go one or the other direction. I usually propose a combination of both. Sometimes it's very simple and it is not required to combine both, but for all others, we can combine both to come really to an excellent result, and which is then afterwards documented. Yeah. As said, we will start with a short introduction, then it's time for implementing the node, identifying the users, initial estimates. As said, don't be scared by the numbers. Usually they are much higher than the license requirement. And then we are refining these estimates and coming to a closer number, and those which are then really identified would be documented in our report. Right. Are there any questions from your side after the presentation? I've added a couple of slides on top, which is giving more details on the digital access adoption program from a commercial perspective as well as from a technical perspective. And in my email tomorrow, I will also add a few more good to know links to additional documents which are giving you an understanding. And yeah, hopefully we will have then soon a couple of additional digital access evaluation services Maria, Elisa, and myself then can work on to see yeah, how the digital license model would work for you.
Sorry, another question from Mauro Lunghi. Warehouse management documents, that means transfer order or other things like this. Is the document relevant for the access?
Yeah, so warehouse management documents,
yes.
In the MM, yes, would be relevant if they are coming
Not
from outside.
MM, only WM, because there is a movement inside of the warehouse. For
no, they are not relevant.
Storage bin.
No,
not relevant.
Not relevant. Not relevant.
And the last question, sorry, about the outbound documents. There is no problem.
Nope.
It's only inbound documents.
Only inbound. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
But you mean that also if an access to SAP or S4 is done by an external system in answering to a query, is not considered something that has to be licensed?
Correct. That's the beauty actually of digital access. Yeah. So every other access, if you're pulling data, if you're changing data, it is all fine in the S4. Yeah, I think that's the big change of this license model, which I'm always saying is really the key factor. Yeah, it's like if you're creating queries, reading out data, even if you're, let's say, you're pulling the data, you're changing the data and sending it back, it's all included in the creation documents. Yeah, so the created documents is the license metric, but the license is covering all indirect access to the digital core and to the S4.
So I come back to this question because it was one of my mantra. I don't know if mantra is a word no also in German.
Definitely.
You mean that if you have a digital access if you have a digital document license, you can also manage application where a third-party application, not SAP, query the system in real time and provide information that are stored in the digital core through user of this external application.
Correct. In the old world, that would be indirect access and requires a license. In the new world, as it is not creating documents, it's covered by the documents.
But you need to have a digital document
correct
license.
Right.
If you do not have, you are in the indirect access scenario.
Genau. Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Sorry, but if a customer have an old version of SAP 4.6c version, it's possible to install the note to do evaluation to consider a conversion, a migration to S4 on-premise system?
It's a good question. To be frank with you,
and if the user licensing that the customer have in this old system is considered as possible to convert in the new licensing model as credit or not?
Okay, first question is for the 4.6c. So to be frank, I did not have so far a customer with a 4.6c system, but as the report is pure SQL statement, so nothing. I'm not sure if you can implement the node, but if you cannot implement the node, let me know. Then I can provide you with the report, and you can create it as a set report in your system. Yeah, with the exactly same functionalities. So that should work. In regards to the digital access, I'm not really sure if I understand the question correctly. I mean, the direct access would not be covered by digital access, right?
No, if this customer with the old version have 50 user license in the old system, can convert this license in the new ones for S4 new system on premise, or in the new digital adoption program in the new licensing, or is needed to buy the new licensing new license?
Yeah. So in general, I think also named users can be converted within the digital access adoption program, but of course you still have to remain compliant from the direct access point of view.
Okay.
Riccardo Cicapolli again, my last question. I was wondering about SAP Commerce Cloud. This cloud application does have a dedicated licensing, because it is meant for receiving orders from, let me say, hundreds, thousands of customers. So in this case, the sales documents created by SAP Commerce Cloud are in the count of indirect accesses or not?
I think if it is what it is, SAP application, Commerce Cloud should have the passport included and would not be considered then.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so if there are no further questions, I think then we're good. So I would like to thank you very much for the opportunity talking today to yourself. And I hope I could generate a little bit interest for the license model itself and also for our digital access evaluation service. Yeah, and maybe next time we are talking, we already have a few of you who can then also probably present their story of of their journey towards digital access. I think that would be also beneficial. And I'm more than happy to join again for a Q&A session if required in a few weeks, and when we all enjoyed Christmas, and just touching base on what has been said today, and probably after the opportunity to reading through also the additional details to answer questions. And I'm also happy to bring in then more experts on specific topics in regards to digital access if required.
Okay, thank you, Falco. Thank you very much for your presentation. It has been very interesting. If somebody will have a question, as Falco said, please provide this question to me or to Francesca, and we will collect these questions, and we will forward them to Falco. I think that the topic is very interesting because I listen a lot of questions, and this is a good signal about the interest of the topic. And I would like to say to all the people in this meeting that we have also organized another webinar regarding to S4HANA license contract. This webinar will be held on December 9th. And I hope all of them will be there, and maybe somebody else. Thank you to SAP for this opportunity, and thank you again to Falco for this good presentation. And we are very happy to have created interest in all of you about this topic. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
you.
Paolo.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Pronto, Francesca?
Sì, Tania.
Ciao.
Ciao. Abbiamo finito un po' prima.
Sì, Però mi sembra ci siano state diverse domande.
Sì, assolutamente, sì.
Mm?
Sì.
Quindi, prossimi step, io manderò un ringraziamento a tutti gli iscritti con il link alla registrazione. Se fosse possibile utilizzare la presentazione, posso mandare il link anche al PowerPoint, al PDF della presentazione.
Allora, ringrazio Falco
Sì.
e glielo chiedo.
Perfetto.
Anche per la presentazione.
Io posso farti avere l'elenco degli iscritti?
Non c'è bisogno. No?
Ok,
Va
perfetto.
benissimo, mi hai detto che c'erano 56?
56 iscritti, presenti 41 o 43.
43, perché pensavo che a un certo punto c'erano 45?
40, hai ragione, comunque io ho salvato l'elenco dei presenti e me lo guardo, perché c'è stato un momento in cui erano 45, è vero. Beh, 45 è un bel numero.
Assolutamente. No,
Direi
veramente
che
bello.
è
Sì,
un bel risultato.
assolutamente. E tutti quanti sono membri o no?
No,
No.
no. Alcuni sì, altri no. Zoppas non è un socio neanche di Auset. Ci sono diversi che non sono membri. Quindi bisognerà fare un'attività post.
Secondo me sì. Dire che sì, giusto per tirare attenzione sul fatto che esiste GUPS e se possono
ne vedo
diventare membri
diversi,
per...
sono non tantissimi, ma ce ne sono non membri.
Senti poi, io ho un paio di persone che sono... Allora, ti ricordi quel SCP
Sì,
event?
mi ricordo, adesso esco con l'SCP.
Ah no, quello che c'era a novembre, ti ricordi?
Sì. Ah no, quello che c'era a novembre, sì.
Sì. Allora, lì avevamo chiesto se le persone volevano essere contattati dallo user group.
Sì.
Io ho un paio, non sono tantissimi, però lo stesso, magari, allora, giusto, fammi un po'. Io te li faccio avere.
Quelli che hanno detto sì, vorremmo essere contattati?
Sì.
Ok. E adesso mandando questo ringraziamento io posso chiedere la stessa cosa. Oppure non lo chiedo perché io mi sono fatta dare il consenso, li posso contattare comunque.
È stata una domanda, scusa?
No.
No, sì.
Parlavo a voce alta.
Ah, ero un po' confusa.
No, certo,
Sì.
certo. Va bene?
Sì, ora facciamo così.
Facciamo così.
Benissimo. Così, pian piano. E i membri Auset
Membri Auset, sì,
dovrebbero
ce ne sono.
pagare per GUPS o...
No, entrano gratuitamente.
Ok.
Però devono devono aderire, cioè mandarmi la scheda di adesione.
Ah, ok.
Io non posso inserirli se non ho una richiesta.
Ah, ok. Comunque
Quindi non posso
diventano...
inserirli solo perché hanno partecipato, però non pagano. E quindi ce ne sono di membri Housed che non sono oggi membri GUPS. Questi sono i primi che contatterò. Menarini, Gavis, sono membri housed, ma non sono membri GUPS. Questi li contatto subito.
Sì, perché così possono sfruttare subito informazioni, eccetera, eccetera.
Sì.
Bene, così.
Va bene.
Importante che GUPS cresca.
Sì, ne abbiamo bisogno.
Sì. Avete fatto tanto quest'anno, quindi secondo me anche sì, sarebbe bello.
Speriamo. Va
Bene,
bene.
bene. Allora ci sentiamo. Mi mandi poi il link quando ce l'hai per il 9 di dicembre?
Sì, certo.
Per i 2 esperti, sai?
Sì, mi ricordo. I 2 esperti, quello deve uscire domani o dopodomani al massimo. Magari comunque questa settimana. Sì. Devo sentire Mauro.
Ok.
Mettermi d'accordo con lui. Perché ancora io non ho informazioni sufficienti.
C'è qualcosa che posso fare io?
No, parlo con Mauro e sento da lui come fare l'invito.
Bene, bene.
Ok.
Allora, poi sì, è logico che puoi anche invitare quelli di oggi, così.
Certo, quelli di oggi li invito tutti. Ma quelli di oggi hanno ricevuto l'invito di oggi da me. E quindi lo riceveranno. Io non invito solo i membri, io invito anche tutti i membri housed, i prospect housed e GUPS e tutti quelli che sono venuti a qualche evento. Quindi invito molta gente e tutte le volte aumenta.
Perfetto.
No? Sì. Cioè il meccanismo è anche abbastanza giusto. Però in questo momento la proposta è molto ampia. Ci sono tanti workshop, webinar. E quindi
sì, però la maggior parte sono marketing.
Sì, è vero, però devo dire che appunto ce ne sono molti, anche non marketing, questi meno, e quindi avere 45 persone è molto buono.
Assolutamente, sì. E poi prima o poi si può anche cominciare a dire, allora se sei membro GUPS puoi partecipare gratuitamente, se no paghi 100 euro.
Sì. L'anno prossimo si può
Secondo me
iniziare.
sì, perché quest'anno avete fatto tanto gratuitamente, però sì, possono diventare, e soprattutto quelli membri housed, scusami, visto che non gli costa niente, possono anche diventare membri.
Sì, potrebbero diventare membri. Di questo bisogna che ne parli col consiglio, però. Abbiamo un consiglio questa settimana. Il 2.
Ok.
Quindi,
e poi,
perché dobbiamo fare anche un programma per il 2021. Bisogna pubblicare almeno una idea, non so, un webinar, un workshop al mese. A partire, no? Qualcosa bisogna dire, se no.
Quindi quando avete il consiglio?
Il consiglio è il 2. Mercoledì.
Perché vuoi che ti mandi velocemente una lista di temi che potresti
Se li hai
proporre?
pronti?
Non in PowerPoint, ma come
No, non
lista?
importa, anche una mail.
Allora la preparo e te lo mando, così avete qualcosa che potete già preparare.
Sì, va bene.
Perché sai, ci sarà un misto tra global,
Sì,
events, workshops,
sì,
ossia però anche per Italia, per esempio, possiamo fare un su Business Scenario Recommendation o Pathfinder, e quello possiamo anche fare in italiano,
sì.
offrire in italiano. Non avrà quell'interesse
Internazionale?
no, in Italia come licensing
Certo, sì, è normale.
però almeno sì. E poi c'è una cosa, tu magari sì, una domanda che puoi fare anche localization. Io non conosco il tema, però so che in Polonia hanno fatto un evento, vari punti, temi, e hanno avuto 88 partecipanti. E quel user group è veramente, sai, no, non molto attivo. Hanno appena cominciato, cioè non appena, però lo stesso. Quindi magari però non conosco bene, posso mandarti i temi, poi proporli e vedere se secondo loro è di interesse o no.
Beh, al consiglio sì, si può fare, certo.
Allora ti mandano.
Certo.
Ok.
Va bene.
Va bene. Allora chiedo a Falco per la sua presentazione.
Grazie.
Poi
Tanto io devo preparare, mettere su YouTube la registrazione e poi domani mando la mail con i ringraziamenti e o quando tu mi rispondi,
Sì, vero.
Cioè
Così
se
puoi
anche la
mandare
mando dopodomani non succede nulla. L'importante è in settimana.
Yeah.
Ok.
Sì, no, sicuramente. Benissimo. Allora,
Va bene.
lo preparo la lista anche per te e così
E ci
l'hai
aggiorniamo.
Sì. Ok.
Ok. Grazie Tania di
Benissimo.
tutto.
Grazie a te, Francesca. Buona serata.
Buona serata. Ciao.
Ciao.